Hey everybody, it's Mike over here at Growtopia. And if you hear somebody familiar in the background, that is James Pigioni from the gardening channel. I'm watching some of his videos to pick his brain to help me with some other shit that I'm looking at. So today is August 8th. Now, we got a couple more things that we can grow in the time period that we have in. Now, we're looking at about almost like, I think about now we're about almost like 70 days still in that grace period. Now, unfortunately, we are currently experiencing this tropical storm, depression, whatever you want to call it. For the past few days, we've had some wild, wicked weather out here in New York in Zone 7A. And we actually didn't have to water anything, which is great. Which you kind of start to get worried about certain plants that don't really like a lot of water. But what's great is that the amount of water that we're getting and the mulch on top and keeping the ground saturated just further extends the day till the next time I got to turn on my sprinklers and water everybody. So with that being said, we got some stuff that we can actually start sowing into pods that are going to start growing pretty quick, hopefully. Now, some of the stuff we have okra on tap. We have some actually more corn. We got spinach. We got delicate squash. We have eggplant, black beauty, and we got some iceberg lettuce. Now, I already have a lot of brassicas growing out there that haven't really started getting too much anywhere, so I didn't want to put too much more lettuce out into that bed. And in a video when we stopped having these insane rains and floods, I bought basically a hoop house setup from Amazon. And it's actually a lot cheaper than going to Home Depot, buying like PVC pipes and all this miscellaneous stuff. So I'm going to be setting it up, and I'm going to film it, and we're going to find out if it was really worth the $30 that it was. It's a whole kit. You got to put all the pieces together. You could put it to whatever size you want. I'm going to be putting that on my bed that's 4 foot by 8 foot. So we're going to see exactly. Sorry, we're going to see if that actually does fit the radius. I know some people you got to speak louder. So we're actually piggybacking into the trays that were inside the nursery. And obviously we got some stuff growing on in here that we actually have to be moving soon. But because of the strong winds and the rains, I don't want to move anybody outside just yet. Now, it might be causing issues for them down the line because they're being used to the inside temperature. Or it might just, slow them down a little bit inside, and then also outside they take off. But currently what you guys are looking at here in the first row here is the bok choys. And they are looking awesome. See, what's nice with the bag is I can pull the bag right out. You guys can take a look at that bok choy. That is nice, right? Now, everybody today got watered with the fertilizer that I use, my homemade fertilizer, which I've showed you guys before, which is the banana peels and the orange peels that are blended in the blender. They go into a container. They go in the freezer because I make a big batch at one time. Then when the spray bottle gets low, I pull out a container, I defrost it, and then I strain out all the pulp as much as I can, and I get this nice little orange liquid. And it stays nice and fresh because it stays in the freezer. So I only defrost it for a certain period of time, only when that bottle gets way down to the bottom. Once it gets way down to the bottom, I take what's left of the bottle, that's like a sludgy kind of pulpy, I'll put it into a container. That container then goes out into the compost pile. So nothing gets wasted. All the peels and stuff, all the pulp and stuff that comes out of the container, when it gets cleaned with my bag that I have here. It's very simple, nothing crazy. It's a micro mesh bag. I bought this years ago for making wine, and I repurposed it for doing other things. And this works great because I just fill it up and then I just grab it and I just all the liquid out, and then I funnel the clean liquid into the bottle. Okay. Let's grab some fresh soldaki tomatoes that are ripe. Here's the coffee that I was talking about. Grabbing my bowl of many things. So obviously I got some water soaking in it. I got some water soaking in it. You know what's really hard to find nowadays when you go to Home Depot or even Lowe's or any place else? Is find dehydrated water. They don't have it. So sometimes you just got to go to your faucet to get the water. It sucks, man. You can get dehydrated milk, but not dehydrated water? What's going on these days? So I'm grabbing my bag here. And like always, I like to rip the top of it. Such. Another bag, just to finish it off. Now, obviously, once this storm finally decides to leave us, like I said, I'll be transplanting a lot of these guys outside, so that now next month, going into September, beginning of September, I'll have room in these trays to keep adding more stuff. And actually, I'm planning on actually remodeling that spare bedroom I have that currently has a bed on it, and actually turning it into a bigger grow room, because I'm starting to realize that as next year's about to happen, I'm going to have a lot of tomato plants, a lot of basil, a lot of peppers, and a lot of different other plants, even I think like eggplants, that actually talk about, when you read the back of the packaging, tells you how many weeks before your last frost you're supposed to plant, and you're looking at almost like January, February. So I'm going to be needing a bigger setup than I have, but that's fine. That's something that's really simple and easy to do. So let's get to what is going in here. So on this one is the iceberg lettuce. Now the problem is that the iceberg lettuce that I have is probably one of the original seed packets I started with this year, and there is zero information on it. So it's kind of like anything else. Everything is all trial and error. I don't believe in pruning off. Like a lot of people would say, oh, just prune it all off and have just one stem. I prefer just to leave it the way it is, grow as a big cluster, and then just deal with it as it's growing. Because even though it's kind of like close together, I'll know like this one bag of bok choy, instead of it putting it like here and then putting another bag here, I'll put it by itself with like a foot or two radius away from it, so that when it grows, there's enough room where I can try to, spread everybody the best I can. I just gotta grab fertilizer.
So good. Hint of sourness, nice sweetness. It's just got that little bit of tart, but so much sugar, it's so delicious. Let's keep going. Cucumbers doing real well.
All right, so we got our fertilizer. Like I said, I've been using ever since I bought it. Ever since JP had mentioned it, and I bought it, and I said, all right, let's try it. He talks about it all the time. Shit's great, man. Shit's great. I know I got that video going on with the Tiny Tims. We're going to be showing you that soon, because even that seed tray is actually going to get some of these seeds in there and stuff. So I'm just going to rough up the soil like I normally do. Grab some fertilizer, like a pinch. Everybody else can get a little extra while they're sitting in here. Ain't gonna hurt them. And then I just want to mix that in. And this little tool that I'm using, you can get it for free. The way you get this tool for free is by buying the peat pellets from EGIGO. EGIGO peat pellets. Peat pods, Jesus. I get them from Amazon, and every time I buy a box, they come for free. So it's nothing free for me, it's free for everybody. So it's great. So make a little bit more of an indent. Okay, nice. So, I'm going to take our lettuce. Let us see what we got here. So, iceberg lettuce is kind of going to grow like a cabbage. It's going to be really big. So, you don't want to put too much in there, but you also don't want to put too little. So, a little sprinkle in there. A little sprinkle in there. A little sprinkle in there. A little bit more than the other two, but it's alright. We don't even know if this bag is worthy of what it is. So you're going to come across that a lot with seeds. You may or may not have a good batch of seeds. So we're just going to push these guys down. They're not really down deep. They're maybe about 1/4 of an inch down. I'm really winging it on these. So I'm kind of keeping them not deep, but also, I'm keeping them close to the surface, but not really deep. Okay. So I'm going to take, and like I said before, the fertilizer. Even though I added JP's on there, I always love adding my liquid fertilizer as well. So I'm going to do 3 squirts per plant. And with that, I've noticed that it does actually do help, so it's not kind of just for shits and giggles. I have noticed that it does help, and I've put it on everything that I've grown. And ever since I started doing that, I've had amazing success with stuff. So for me, it's a nice, safe fertilizer, and it's really cheap because if I'm going to buy bananas and oranges from the store because I can't grow them in New York, I might as well just make the fertilizer from it. So I'm going to take this tray. I'm going to go put it in the nursery on something. It's called a shelf. I couldn't think of, and then I'll grab the next one. Now we did that. We're going to pull out our experimental tray so you guys can actually see kind of what's going on here. So with the Mater Magic, and I know this isn't the Tiny Tim video, but this was planted on the 1st of August, so this is only day 8 out of 10. And Mater to Mater has done nothing. We have JP's fertilizer, it's fucking great. We have Jehovah's fertilizer, that is great. The calcium is nothing, but on the no fertilizer pod, you see a little tiny, see a little white dot in there? A little tiny tomato thinking about coming out of the soil. So, who knows what's going to happen. And I've also been doing this on them as well to keep everything all the same. So let's toss in the next bags, and we're going to put what's in these. What the heck? You gotta seed it to believe it. Fresh Jersey tomatoes. Fucking, I love his energy. It's great. It's actually what spurred me on to do a lot more stuff. It's just the energy level he has. And once you really start kind of getting into it and you really start figuring out which end of the bag you open, you really actually start enjoying more of it. And it actually becomes like a very nice, fun, not even just like a hobby, but it's also like a nice way of life. You know, it's peaceful. You go out there, you listen to the crickets, the birds, you're looking at stuff that you started off as a seed and now it's a giant plant. You're harvesting from it, you're eating from it. And you know that bag that cost you $4.99 has just given you basically almost $50 to $60 worth of food for free. So just remember that. Even though it might seem expensive sometimes at first, you're trying to get off. You know, you're like, oh man, these seeds are costing me $5, $6, $7. Another thing to look into if you're actually buying seeds from Amazon is a lot of times, which I was looking at different eggplants. I had found 4 different eggplants that I wanted to buy. And there was actually a combo on there. So each bag was like $4.99. Each separate bag. Well, they had a combo on there that had literally the same size bags, but there's 4 bags in one package for $9. Ain't rocket science, people. I'm going to go for that one. And actually, because I'm saving money buying that, I'm going for 2 bags. And for my bone meal video, I screwed up on, obviously. The bones didn't cook long enough in the oven, and they came out really funky. So, nevertheless, and I also learned that I wasn't fertilizing my tomatoes properly. So I had found out the way from a couple other people how you're supposed to fertilize your tomatoes properly. And I'm going to be posting that in the video. But right now, this packaging, this container right here, has a mix of ground down eggshells, the calcium. It's got the chicken bones grounded down. And it also has some plant fertilizer from Jobi's, which is what that one tomato is growing on. Why I use the Jobi's versus using JP stuff is because obviously they both are growing about the same pretty good. We had tomato plants that were growing on Jehovah's before I even bought JP's fertilizer, and they're doing good. So I know it's a good fertilizer as well. Plus, it's a lot cheaper. So instead of spending $80 for a bag of JP's, 4-pound bag for $80, I can buy $30 for Jovies instead and use it as that. JP's, I say, is definitely really good all-purpose fertilizer, especially when it comes to starting and amending your soil in different areas. And then you can always incorporate other stuff depending on where your budget is. If you only want to go for his stuff, that's fine. Go for his stuff. Just make sure you use it in moderation, because you will go through it all really quickly. So let's take a look at what we got growing on over here. So I have too many things and not enough brain cells. Okay. It's a good thing we so this is my spinach seeds that have been sitting in my they were sitting in the freezer. I put them in at 7/30/24. I put them in the fridge on August 1st, and I'm pulling them out now. And I'm actually going to put them back in the fridge because the containers now, the bag has kind of gotten a little, it's going to get a little damp and moist. And if I try to put it back into the seed book, unfortunately, it probably will mildew and cause issues. So I'm just going to leave these seeds always in the fridge and just wing it at that point. And that's fine because those, I have other spinach seeds that are in my seed book, so it's not a loss at all. So let's go down the line here. So first one I'm doing is a delicate squash. And I'm going to just run through everybody. Problem I'm going to have right now, I'm going to be really very, very, very careful with, is not accidentally fertilizing the experimental tomatoes with JP's fertilizer. So this is always why it's always good to just, whenever you do something, just focus and be very careful. It's like the hardest thing to do right now is not accidentally spread the fertilizer.
But that's okay. This tree just has so many, so we can allow them to get a few. Let's harvest one of them.
Okay. Whew, successful. Did not cross-contaminate. Now we're just going to mix it all in. Because these bags biodegradable and they literally biodegrade pretty quickly, there's no actual real concern of these things ever going into the ground and being like a plastic bag that are there forever. I actually had to remove one of my tomato plants recently because it looked like it had a disease on it. And when I went to go pull the tomato plant out of the ground, not only did it not want to come out, but it had a big root ball and the bag was completely gone at that point. So first thing we're going to be doing is this delicate squash that's right here. Maturity is 50 to 55 days, which is great. So it's within our time period, and it's going to take 10 to 14 days to germinate. Plant 1 inch deep direct sow, but we're going to put it in pods instead. Full sun and plant spacing 2 to 3 feet. I've never seen them open up a package. Okay. So because it's a squash, it's got a big seed like this, I'm not going to be basically planting more than one at a time. I'm just going to basically put it in. I got a lot of squash growing out there, so if they don't all take off, it's not the end of the world because I reuse the bags like I say before, like I've said multiple times, which is why I have beets and dragon tongue beans growing in one pod because the dragon tongue beans decided to wake up all of a sudden. And the only thing I did different was I took the pods and I soaked it in water for 15-20 minutes and that was it. So I'm going to push you guys down a little bit, cover them down, push it down a little, cover it down, push it down a little, cover it down, and so forth. Nice. I'm going to grab my tags, I'm going to slide my tags in the corner. And like I've said before, all my tags are dated at the top. So it's not even just for the videos, it's actually just for me to keep track of what's going on inside these trays. Next ones we got is okra. I've never really had okra before. This is a crimson spineless okra. Maturity is 55 days. Germination is 3 to 12 days. That's pretty quick, especially with JP's fertilizer. It's going to be overnight. Plant now. Start indoors 6 weeks before first frost or direct sow. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of this stuff. I'm going to need a bigger spot. 1/4 inch planting, 12 inches apart, full sun. Okra, prolific, approximately 55 days, and you can keep harvesting every few days after that. Cut with a knife above the top of the okra. So 55 days, and you can even harvest after the fact. So that's freaking awesome. Oh, I hate when my videos, I look on them and I'm running out of time. Don't do this. I haven't gotten hurt in like a few days, so it's about time I get hurt again. Okay. So okra is like these big balls. Or not big balls, but they're balls, more or less. So I'm going to do 3 of them per pod. Instead of just doing 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And 1 more. Stuck in the crack of my fingers. Okay, so that is it for the okra. Okrage boys here. 1/4 inch down. So I put them on top and I pushed them down until they went below the soil, in case you guys are wondering. And I just slid the soil onto the top of it. That will get me a nice 1/4 inch down. Nice. And then put some soil on top. That's it. Grab my tags. Now I'm trying to rush because I'm at 22 minutes out of 30. So. Doink, doink, doink. If I don't get to finish the video, you guys will figure out the rest of it on your own. So remember before, 1, 2, 3. And I don't need to do the tomatoes because I already did the tomatoes, so I'm going to drop these on the tray and I'll be right back. Alright, last one, but not least. And I gotta make a tray for the spinach before I forget. So, got our eggplants here, and obviously I'm gonna have to soak the water for that. But I'm gonna just show you guys quick what we have here. We have our Black Beauty eggplant, 74 days, planting depth 1 to 2 inches, 12 to 24 feet. 24 inches spacing, not feet. 7 to 12 days germination, direct sow, full sun. Everything, obviously, I'm doing it into the pods. The next thing that I have, and it's also you want to know when your frost date's about to come before you really do anything. This is golden Vietnam corn. So the corn that I have growing out back currently. It's basically done because I screwed up a lot of things between lack of fertilizing and not proper water. So and I planted it way too late. Of course, we're doing this one because this one's harvest date is approximately 82, and we're going to wing it. So I'm going to see what happens. So the corn that's back there, if we actually get some nice weather this weekend, which I doubt, I'm removing all that corn back there, harvesting what's from it, taking it all, putting the corn stalks on my lawn, and then I'll run it over with my mulch mower, mulch it all down with the grass, then all that goes into my compost bins. Clean that whole ground up that's over there where the corn was, and I'm going to plant the tiny Tims back there because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to plant where the corn is right now, and I figured putting determinate tomato plants back there because they grow to a certain size only would be the best place. They grow as a little bush. They're not a big viney plant. So all my determinate tomatoes I'm going to grow in that section back there, and all my indeterminate tomatoes that are vinies that need the strings are going to grow into the where the trellises are. So this is the corn of choice that I'm running. The spinach of choice that I'm doing here is a spinach Bloomdale. So from the Garden Basics, as you can see inside the bag. 45 to 55 days till maturity, 1/4 inch planting, 12 inches separation, 7 to 14 days germination, direct sow, sun, and partial shade. So this is going to be going into the same area where the brassicas, aka the lettuce leafy greens, are going to be, and that's where the whoopie house is going to be. So I got to soak this. That's going to take longer than 5 minutes, but if you guys got something out of this video today, I hope you really did. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Comment below. Ask me anything. Tell me anything. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what you learned from it. I love to hear from everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday afternoon. And if you're in the line of this direct storm that's coming up from the South Carolinas, please be careful out there, people. This is no joke. The weather is not your friend.